webinar on incentive compensation. Thank you all for joining today. We appreciate your participating and look forward to giving you some valuable information on incentive compensation. A couple of things during the course of the webinar. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A. And also, a couple of times during the presentation, we'll be putting up a poll. So please participate in that. The information you give us will be very helpful and help us streamline this presentation in the future and also subsequent presentations that we do. My name is Brian Friedman. I'm GVP of Sales at SoftClouds. And with me today is Vijay Ramamurth, who is the manager of the ERP at Acorn Products. Acorn Paper is one of our customers, and we're going to talk with Vijay a bit later on in this webinar about their experience at Acorn Paper with incentive compensation specifically, and a little more generally in terms of the transformational project that has been going on at Acorn Paper and continues to go on today. So Vijay, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Brian. Good morning. It's nice to be here.
Thanks. We'll hear from Vijay a bit in a few minutes. So let's start off with a bit of background on incentive compensation and why companies need incentive compensation in their business practices and processes. So when you look at incentive compensation, there's really a couple of things that the product does. It allows for a much better relationship with the sales department so that the salespeople understand their goals, they're clearly defined, and the payments to salespeople for incentives or commissions are done properly, accurately, and timely. The other thing that it does is it helps on the business side because it helps to lower the administrative costs, reduce the number of overpayments, and also take away a number of the audit and risk elements that the company has in their operations. So if we look at what incentive compensation really means, there's a lot of time and money spent by a company in terms of managing to commissions, managing to compensation, and figuring out the best way to pay or compensate individuals or employees. The other thing is that when these incentive situations work properly, the employees are much happier, the company is much happier, and there can be a real win-win in terms of how things are working within the organization. And we'll talk to Vijay in a bit about this, but truly part of the experience that took place at Acorn Paper as well. So how does ICM help improve sales? Well, we can optimize territories so that the salespeople are clearly understanding what their territory is, what their quotas are, and what their incentive is for meeting those quotas. We have a better way to identify and validate the commission or pay for performance. And we have a very easily configured program. So the Oracle platform, it is very easy to configure or reconfigure as time goes on, as needs change, as the compensation requirements change as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at Oracle SPPM, which is Sales Performance Management, and Incentive Compensation Cloud. So in this, sorry about that. So the sales performance management is one part of really 5 different components in the Oracle Sales Suite. So the first block, the dark green block on the far left-hand side, is the one we'll focus on today that talks about incentive compensation, sales quota planning, territory management, and predictive sales forecasts. The other four blocks are really subjects for other conversations we'll have in the future regarding Oracle Sales Suite. So Salesforce automation, customer data management, channel management, and platform itself. So we'll talk about those some other time. Today, we're really going to focus our attention on sales performance management and incentive compensation. So if you look at why there's a need for sales performance management, you can see that there's some significant pitfalls for companies in doing business and how they operate without a proper tool to help them manage these things. 83% of companies have payment inaccuracies in commissions. 72% of the companies don't have their incentive comp plans ready on day one of the fiscal year. 60% of companies use error-prone or disjointed sales processes, and 40% of executives rely merely on instinct when set of quotas and targets. And you'll see this in a lot of instances. You'll see these various pitfalls because there is no structured process to be able to create incentives, to create compensation models, and to create quotas. And when you think about it, all three of those things really go together. And if they're not fully aligned, and if they aren't backed by some statistics and some real life examples of what's happened in the past and what is predicted to happen in the future, you can see how the entire process can become disjointed. So what's needed is a modern tool that enables the company to make proper projections and set proper quotas, and also allow the employees, the commissioned salespeople, to have readily attainable goals with identifiable metrics that allow them to be successful. So when we look at the features of Oracle incentive compensation, there's really 9 different components that we're going to walk through here to show you what the platform looks like, how it operates, and ultimately how these things come together in the real world, in the example of Acorn paper, so that they were able to make these transformational changes and improve their processes. So we look at the first part of it, sales performance and compensation. What we're looking to do is we're looking to provide reasonable measurement and identifiable compensation plans. And this allows the company to set the right kind of plan, and it allows the salesperson to have a clear understanding of what the goals are, what's required of them, and how they're going to go about meeting their goals and making their quotas. And this piece of it really allows the company to optimize the territories and quotas. We talked about that before, that setting quotas is really important at the very beginning of the year. It doesn't do a salesperson any good to have their quota delivered to them after the year begins, whether it's fiscal or calendar. They need to know going in what the goals are, what the requirements are, how they're going to go about meeting their goals and being successful. And this piece of it then really allows the salesperson to have better insight into what their commissions are going to be, and it gives the company a much better way to monitor progress and to adjust during the course of the year if that progress isn't being obtained. So we have identifiable measurements, we have predetermined objectives and quotas, and the measurement then looks at the goals, the credit categories, the measurement formula in terms of revenue and percentage attainment, and basically a scorecard. How are we doing during the course of the year? How are we meeting up? How are we really able to achieve our goals as we go through the course of the year? The second part of the ICM platform is the credit allocation and hierarchical rules. And really what we're looking to do here is we're looking to identify who's entitled to commissions for each transaction that takes place. In many cases, it's different people. It could be the direct salesperson, it could be the sales manager, it could be the regional manager. All of the different people might be engaged in this. And as you go up the chain, everybody's got their own set of metrics, their own set of identifiable targets and goals. And all of this allows us to keep track of this, to make sure that everyone within the ecosystem is meeting their goals and being successful. So the time in which the goal is achieved, the way in which the goal is achieved, this will allow us to be successful. The other thing that we have is a configurable payment mechanism. And what this really means is that the company can go and take a look at all of the different ways in which the payments are approved. It allows us to see all of the different elements of the transaction. And it really looks at the way in which the payment occurs, how the transactions are done, allows us to make adjustments if necessary, and of course, the approval and payment processing. The whole idea here really is to be able to go through, look at this and say, we know what the goals are, we understand what metrics have been met, and the payments are done accurately, correctly, and on time. And it's a huge thing in terms of managing to the entire process, keeping the salespeople happy, and making the payors happy as well. The company, the accounting department, the sales department, any number of people who have to be involved in this. But if things don't go right, we have a dispute management process as well. And this allows the managers to be able to look at whether things have been done correctly. And if there's a dispute by a salesperson, a regional manager, an area manager, whomever it might be, there's a way to go through to run through the process of validating the payment to make sure that it's been done correctly. If it hasn't been done correctly, there's a way to make modifications and correct things. We also have a way for cross-organization crediting. And really what this means is there's a way for each business unit to monitor the productivity, the activities. There's a way to make sure that the payments are delivered on time and that things are done in the appropriate manner. So the next part of it, which is very important, is currency calculation. And here what we're looking at are companies that are doing business in multiple locations with multiple currencies. So what this allows the ICM platform to do is to look at any of these transactions, to maintain them in local currency, if that's the way that's being done. And in some instances, there's a conversion so that the currency that the transaction took place may not be the currency that the payment is made. As an example, we had a prospect who was doing business in many, many countries. They would take in a transaction in one currency, but they'd be paying out the commission in another currency. The ICM platform allowed them to do that easily and seamlessly, and really took a significant amount of the hassle out of the transactions. When you think about having to do something like that in a manual way, it's very, very difficult to run the conversions to make sure that everything is done properly. But with a modern platform like Oracle Incentive Comp, they were able to manage these transactions very easily and make sure that everyone was being compensated in the appropriate way. There's also mobility. So there's a piece here that allows for a mobile transaction for the reps to be able to use their mobile device and go in to see all of the information that they could see on the desktop, and to be able to really be out to do what they're doing, which is being in the field and selling, and still keep real-time track of how they're doing in their performance, how the transactions are working, what it looks like in terms of their upcoming commissions, as well as potentially being able to look at the commission that they're going to receive from an upcoming transaction as they start to put that transaction together. One of the strengths of any Oracle product, of course, is the analytics and the ability to have real-time interactive reporting that allows for all parties to be able to see what's going on from the commissionable transactions in a real-time manner. And this really improves everybody's understanding as well as everyone's satisfaction. And of course, because we can do anything on a role or role-based model, we can have managers seeing one thing, upper level management seeing another thing, and the salespeople seeing just their transaction. And all this really allows for everybody to have full visibility that they need, but it's not visibility across the board. So very important, certainly something that's available in all of the Oracle products. And finally, we look at integrations. One of the nice things about the Oracle Incentive Comp Plan program is that it can be integrated into other applications. So it can be integrated into any of the Oracle applications, as well as Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics. All of those different platforms can have the Oracle incentive compensation built into it. What that allows us to do really is not be bound by a customer that only has Oracle CRM. We can go to any CRM customer and provide them a very robust tool and a very unique tool, because the Oracle ICM application is a very unique product that stands alone from many other offerings. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move into really a real life implementation here. And Vijay, I want to come back to you and tell us a little bit about what Acorn Paper does.
So Acorn Paper Products is a subsidiary of Oak Paper Products, and what Acorn Paper Product does is it's basically an end user distribution company for packaging solutions. Oak Distribution Company, on the other hand, is a wholesale distribution company, and then we also have a manufacturing unit that makes these products. And within the Acorn Paper Products, we have this packaging solution for wine industry, and also we have the packaging solutions for agricultural industry as well. So that's what Acorn Paper Products is all about. Packaging solutions plus janitorial and sanitary products as well.
Great. Thank you, Vijay. So in terms of that, Vijay, when are salespeople involved in all of those transactions that you were discussing?
Yes. So basically, the salespeople are the ones who go out there and meet with the customers and procure these contracts and orders, and they pass it on to our internal group called the customer service, who takes the orders and key it into the Oracle system, and that gets processed in Fusion.
Excellent. Thank you. And one of the things that we saw when we first came into Acorn Paper is that there was a real need and a real desire on management's part for digital transformation and improvement. Number of reasons for this. There were a number of disconnected systems that were operating, made it difficult for the company to process commissions and process those calculations. There was information coming from all different places, which was making it very difficult to do these calculations. And because of that, it was very hard for the company to be nimble in making changes and also setting certain exceptions in different types of transactions. So what this transformation started to look like is really a front office and back office changeover. The back office piece, which is really where Vijay sits specifically in terms of his job, but on the ERP side, which is the back office in terms of invoices and the ledgers and the balance sheets and all of the different things that the company maintains on the financial side. The front office piece is in part the CX Cloud, which is incentive compensation, and other components that we are bringing into the equation as well. But all of this is really looking to create a much more robust situation that allows for the company to have better visibility in terms of where the transactions are taking place, and then better visibility in terms of how to disperse or give commissions and payments to certain sellers. So as we're talking about, we had a number of complexities in the prior situation. And what we were looking to do is we were looking to streamline the solution to give Acorn Paper better visibility on the value of the transactions and the commissions that need to be paid, as well as to give the salespeople better visibility on how they would be compensated, how they would be paid for making transactions. So what we did is we came up with a solution that took all of these separate systems and disconnected systems and put them together into a unified place. We brought the data together so that it could be streamlined and have significantly better reporting visibility. We gave the company the ability to change the plans on an ongoing basis as needed to maybe incentivize salespeople for making certain types of transactions over the others. And we took a very complex payee setup and made it a much more simple process for the company. We made the logic scalable. We gave multi-divisional opportunities. As Vijay was mentioning, there's a number of different subsidiaries within the company. And we gave very high visibility in terms of reporting and reporting capabilities. So, Vijay, what I'd like to do now is maybe just start off. Can you give us a little background on who you are and where you came from and how you landed with Acorn Paper?
Okay. So I'm fairly new here at Acorn Paper Products. It'll be 1 year this May. So when I first started May of 21, they had just gone live with Fusion Oracle, and they had not yet implemented ICM at that time. And then on my previous job, it's basically been Oracle ERP for about 10 plus years. And then I had about 2.5 years of Fusion experience. So when I came over here as an ERP manager, I kind of took over the Oracle a footprint here, and I wanted to see where we can stabilize the Fusion system, plus revive the ICM projects and other projects that have been in place, going forward.
Great, thank you. And I know that the decision to go with Oracle ICM was made before you came on with the company, but do you have any knowledge or background what drove Acorn to make the decision to go with ICM?
Well, like you said in your presentation, they just wanted to streamline the process and give better visibility for the sales people to see what their goals and where they're progressing throughout the month, right, or the year. So that gives the sales managers better visibility of how their sales reps are performing. And also, they wanted to make sure that the payments are all done on time, accurately, and be able to manage that part of the system. And I think ICM was one of the key components that they had decided to implement when they thought about moving from on-prem EBS to a Fusion Cloud.
Sure, great, understand. And can you quantify the amount of time that's been reduced in commission payments or anything like that?
Well, after they went live in February of 21, they had not implemented ICM yet. So last October is when I kind of contacted SoftClouds and wanted to revive the ICM project. So we kind of had to bring back the team that worked on it previously. And then we kind of formed a team and got things ready. And we went live with ICM January of this year. So we've been live with ICM for about 3 months now. The controller who's in charge of managing this ICM, she's very happy that there is a system or an automatic system in place where she doesn't have to do manual work month after month. That's what she's been doing since going live with Fusion all of last year. So she feels pretty happy that we have this live right now, and she doesn't have to do all the manual work, and she's able to manage it much better with this ICM piece.
Great. And what about on the salesperson side? Are you hearing any comments from the salespeople now that the ICM is live?
Well, it's been only 2 months, but after they saw all the reporting and after they saw all the orders that are eligible and their, each transaction, what is eligible and what is not, they are very excited to be able to see data for the first time in about a year. They're able to see their progress, and they're able to, ask questions about how things work and how they can improve and so on. So yes, for the first time in a year, they've been able to see their own data, and they're kind of like excited about this, these new reportings that they are exposed to.
Great. And I guess then the other side of it, I know you mentioned that you called us after a period of time to come back in. What are your thoughts on how SoftClouds has handled this transformational project for you? I've
been dealing with SoftClouds only for the last 6 months, but in that short time, I would say the group was able to bring back the original resources and get up to speed, and they were able to help us go live in a very short amount of time, like about 2.5 to 3 months. So we've been live since January. I feel very happy that SoftClouds went above and beyond to get us where we are right now. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. And is the company using ICM in any way to try to increase revenue from the transactions?
I have to maybe defer that to the controller and see how they are going to deal with that. But my part was to make it go live and just give them this platform to use it and then improve their daily business process going forward.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate your insights. So, in terms of the results that we saw from making this transition to ICM, a lot of these things were just highlighted by Vijay in his answers to some of the questions. But what we did is we found a way to make the handling of the data much easier for both sides, for the controller who's processing the commission payments, as well as for the salespeople. We created the transparency. Vijay said that for the first time, really, salespeople were able to clearly understand where the commissions were coming from, what they were being paid on, how they were being paid, and it gave them that clear understanding of how their commission checks were impacted by the transactions they created. And we brought about accuracy. Vijay said that it really was helpful for the controller to be able to have a tool like this, to be able to make this type of a change. So in looking at this, some of the best practices in terms of ICM implementations, and I'm really going to skip down to the middle one in terms of stakeholder buy-in, because what we had in this case was significant buy-in from upper management that this transformation, this change was needed, necessary, and they were behind it. And when we have that, then we're able to take and we're able to make this change and have everybody adopt the change and really make sure that they're making the best use of it. And in doing that, what we did is we started with gaining a clear understanding of the process. We did the discovery early on to understand how the commissionable process was working, how it wasn't working, and what things we could do by using the ICM tool to help make things much better, much more accurate, much easier for all parties. we had a number of sessions in terms of reporting and how those reports were going to be created and distributed to different levels within the organization. And we kept Acorn paper engaged throughout. And one of the things that's very important as we do this is to make sure that we're building a product that the company will be able to use and that they understand and can make valuable use of going forward in the future. And those things are simple as creating reports as well as making changes. And so if we design it correctly as we go through this process, we make sure that the company understands how best to use it and the employees understand how to best make use of the information and the data that's coming out. So all of this really makes sure that we've got a good product with a communication role that works properly, and we've got executive and management buy-in to making this change and this transformation. And this really says the same thing, that we were engaged with the customer. We found that the reps were happy with the new system. The accounting department was happy with the new system. And we had improved transparency and a better situation there. So what I want to try to do now is just stop for a moment. Let me take a look and see if we have any questions that we've got from the audience. If anyone does have any additional questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A as well. So Vijay, the first one says, what cost benefits have you seen since migrating to ICM?
For last 1 year, since we went live with Fusion, it has been a manual work for the controller and her team, right? So if you just imagine the number of hours spent calculating, validating the eligibility of the orders for commissions, all those have been eliminated. And now it's like a streamlined process where we extract data from the Fusion AR module and pass it on to ICM module, and the calculation is all automatic now. So it's basically the number of hours that was spent manual and all the elimination of all the errors that were possible during this manual process.
Okay, great. And one of the questions we've got, what other platforms or programs can ICM be integrated with? As we talked about earlier, because ICM is somewhat of an open component, we have the ability to integrate ICM with other CRM systems like Salesforce, like Microsoft Dynamics, as well as any of the other Oracle products. So what this enables us to do, as I mentioned earlier, is to go to a customer that may not have Oracle CRM, but still offer them this very powerful and unique tool that ICM provides to integrate into their non-Oracle stack. So really gives us the ability to expand the footprint and to be able to come into a situation where we may not have an Oracle CRM capability at the outset. Vijay, another question. Have you seen any increase in satisfaction with your sales reps? I know it's kind of outside of your area of work, but are you hearing that the sales reps are happier with this new system?
Definitely, I would say they're happier because previously they had to call us and ask for the reportings, and now they have all the data right in their fingertips. So they just have to open the report and look at it, and they get a full list of all the orders that they've processed, what is eligible, what is not, and what they're getting paid. So now there's very few questions as to, why. One, issue here and there, but otherwise they're very, very happy that they're able to visualize their orders, their compensation,
Excellent. Excellent. That's great news. Do you know if the salespeople are using the mobile app for to access?
As of now, I believe they're just using their laptops. We are looking to see, we can create all these reports that when we give them all this access to, reporting that would look visually appealing in their mobile devices. That's when they'll start using it.
Great. Excellent. Thank you. So in terms of the future of incentive compensation, we're really seeing a number of things that could come about in the future and how they will impact selling and reporting. We're really looking at super sellers, which what that means is the star salespeople who will push the boundaries of compensation limits. And in the grand scale of things, ICM will be able to handle that, will be able to move along with the progression of sales and salespeople. The sales compensation functions will be consultative. And a bit of what we mean by that is if the company starts to align company's profitability goals with the sales reps' compensation goals, we can set up systems that allow the salespeople to be able to see in real time the effect of getting higher margin or higher revenue from a particular transaction. So that would allow the sales rep to make more money in compensation and also allow the company to be more profitable because they're making a higher revenue or higher margin on transactions. We also will see sales incentives that will focus on roles that interface and influence clients. So what we mean by that is how can we go and take the people who are having the most impact on a transaction and compensate them in a different manner or in a more significant manner. So all of these things really will allow us to give higher levels of compensation to the high performers and also to be able to create systems that allow us to incentivize the salespeople to be able to make more money and also to generate more revenue for the company. We have another question that says ICM from recruiting CRM for lead to closure for critical closure of high priority positions. That's a little bit of what we just talked about here. So that what we can do is we can allow for the sellers who have the highest impact to be able to go and have the greater revenue benefit from a transaction. All of that really allows us to make sure that we're using ICM for the proper purpose, which is incentivizing the sellers to be more productive and to generate more revenue. One of the things that I would point out is that ICM is not just about commissions. It can also be used for generating compensation in other ways. If we look at, we've got situations where, for example, in the airline example, they were compensating their agents, their individual agents, for selling tickets. And so it isn't necessarily always directly related to salespeople. It's really anyone in the ecosystem who's creating revenue and is compensated for doing that revenue creation. So that's the main part of our presentation today. Just a quick recap of who we are. SoftClouds was founded in 2005. We're located in San Diego. We have 3 other locations, 2 development facilities in India and a sales office in Tokyo, Japan. And we've been a platinum partner, the highest level of partnership with Oracle for quite a number of years. We have a significant number of customers across many different segments, as you can see here. And several of these customers have implemented incentive compensation with us as well. In terms of our capabilities, these are a number of things that we can do on the ICM side. And we'd certainly look forward to speaking with you and see how we can help you with ICM or your other CX needs in the future. I know we've been running a poll. Maybe we can put up the poll results right now. Oh, I see. One more. How would you rate our webinar? Then we'll know. But as we conclude here, my name is Brian Friedman. I'm the GVP of Sales at SoftClouds. Feel free to reach out to me if there's anything else we can do for you, if you've got any questions or require any additional information. And hope to talk with you soon and have you join us in a future webinar. So if we don't have any other questions, I'd like to thank you for your participation today and wish you all a good day.